Hello, everybody. Welcome into Sports by GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Today we have a big show. It's a lot of NBA talk. We're going to be doing, like I said, we're going to break down all of the NBA action from over the weekend, including all three series that went final. We're going to talk about their last game, and we're going to do some Western Conference and Eastern Conference predictions as far as the conference finals go. So stick around for that. But before we get into all of that, remember, if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net. Leave a tip or donation with a message in it. That message will pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. Appreciate anything that you do give. Once again, that link is gsmcpodcast.net. It's on the screen. It's scrolling across the bottom, on the bottom scroll there throughout the whole show. But leave a comment, leave a donation. Appreciate everything you do give. And let's get right into it. Like I was saying, lots of history was made in the Game 7s on Sunday. In fact, both of those two Game 7s were historic in their own right for two different reasons. And we're going to start out in the Eastern Conference. We're going to start in the East, where the Pacers shocked the world by taking down the Knicks. Now, that's from the beginning of the series. If you remember back to the beginning, everyone was saying the Pacers have no chance, Knicks in 5. A lot of things transpired to get to even Game 7. The Knicks dealt with a lot of injuries throughout. In fact, at one point in this series, if you include action in Game 5, or in Game 7, all 5 of the Knicks opening day first game of the season starters were out for at least a portion of a game. Of a game. You know, OG Anunoby missed Game 2 to Game 6. Josh Hart missed basically the entirety of Game 6. Jalen Brunson missed the last quarter or so of Game 7, although at that point the game was basically over. Mitchell Robinson missed a whole lot of that series, and Julius Randle missed the entire playoffs. So that's the entire starting roster, not to mention Bojan Bogdanovic, who was hurt as well. So the Knicks were dealing with a lot of injuries. But that's not the reason they lost this game. The reason that they lost this game is because of the Pacers shooting. Not only was the Pacers shooting incredible, which it was, but it was historic. It was historic shooting by the Indiana Pacers, the best shooting performance in a playoff game of all time. They shoot 67% from the field. They had the best shooting half of all time as well, shooting 76% in the first half. They put up 70 points in the first half, 60 points in the second. And this is the kind of game where it doesn't matter how good you play on the other end. And it's not like the Knicks played bad. They didn't. They just, when the other team is not missing shots, you can't there's not much you can do to control the outcome of these games. And it really is unfortunate because the Knicks played a good game. They really did. I mean, you look at DiVincenzo scored almost 40 points in this game. They were in a normal game 109 points, and shooting 42% from the field, 37% from 3. That's going to at least keep you in it. Now, did the Knicks play good enough to win this game or this series? Probably not. And that's not entirely their fault. Again, they're playing on an incredibly injured. Their team is incredibly injured. Alec Burks was their second best player last night. Last night. Last night was Sunday. He was their second best player last night, and it's not the spot you want to be in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference semifinals. That's not where you want to be, and that it's not the whole reason they lost. Again, the reason they lost Game 7 is because of the Pacers' incredible shooting. You don't shoot, 67% from the field, set a new NBA record for shooting from the field, and lose a game. That just simply does not happen. It doesn't, and it's incredibly impressive what they did. Tyrese Halliburton probably had his best game of the series. He made 6 threes, 26 points. Was pretty efficient too. Had 6 assists. And then really this entire series, some of the main factors had been TJ McConnell off the bench and Obi Toppin off the bench, providing both energy and defense. In TJ McConnell's case, especially down the stretch in those last couple games, his ability to come in and give those defensive minutes against Jalen Brunson was huge. And this brings up a little bit of a bigger conversation that I've been hearing around sports media, especially NBA sports media, is the way that Tibbs coaches his team, and we all know it. It's the way he does it. He'll have his starters out there for 40 minutes. It just hasn't really led to success in the playoffs. He's gotten teams to the Eastern Conference Finals. He's gotten teams that are really good, really successful, and he's never won. Tom Thibodeau is the kind of coach that you are that at least for me, I'm a little perplexed by when I talk about the way that he coaches, because it's not always the worst idea to have your best out. It's not the worst idea to have your best guys out there. You want to have your best guys out there because that's how you win a game. Your best guys are out there on the court. It's good, right? But on the flip side, you have your guys out there and they're tired, especially if they do this over a 6-game series and then a 7-game series. That's 13 straight games where these guys are playing playoff intensity level basketball and playing 40 plus minutes of it. It leads to what we've seen, leads to injuries. Josh Hart is a guy who plays with so much effort, so much, no pun intended, heart here. But you see that abdominal strain. That's the kind of thing that, your just abdominal muscles gave out. It's not really like an injury that he gets hit and it happens. There's not really a way to fix that. And he's out there, he gives 37 minutes, he plays fine basketball, and he's clearly not 100%, but he still gives it all his all. But now a not 100% guy in Josh Hart is going up against, the starters at first, and maybe they start to win that, and then the reserves come in, and maybe they're still hanging in there, but then the starters come back, and these guys have been on the court the whole time, and they're starting to get tired. These guys are starting to get gassed, especially after a long playoff streak like this, where they're continuing to play at high intensities, high effort minutes over and over again. And I know these are professional athletes. They have the endurance to do it, but sometimes it's nice to get a break. You're getting beat up. It's a physical sport. No matter what they tell you, basketball is a very physical sport, especially down low, and it starts to take a toll. Now, this Knicks team is very good, right? And the Pacers are moving on to the Eastern Conference Finals. In our next segment, we're actually going to break down the Eastern Conference Finals, so I'll get more to the Pacers in a second. But I want to talk. I want to do a little send off to the Knicks here. The Knicks are a very good team, and part of sports is luck, right? No matter how you slice it, a huge part of sports is luck. There's a saying, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, and it's a real thing. Because the Indiana Pacers, a big criticism of their playoff run so far is the injury luck that they've had. They run into a Bucks team that doesn't have Giannis and doesn't have Dame for a lot of the series. They run into a Knicks team that doesn't have all 5 of their opening day starters for at least part of the series. And now they're running into a Boston team that doesn't have Kristaps Porzingis for however long he's going to be out. Hamstrings are nagging injuries, so we'll have to see if and when he can come back. I expect that he'll be there for the series, but there's only one real way to know, and that's for an official report to come out. But all that's besides the point. The Knicks got unlucky. And this is, when healthy, a championship level roster. I mean, you saw what they did with basically just the Nova Knicks, right? You had Jalen Brunson leading the team. Josh Hart and Dante DiVincenzo, who might not even be starting if this roster was fully healthy. OG Anunoby, when he's healthy, is OG Anunoby, when healthy, is one of the best perimeter defenders in the league, and Isaiah Hartenstein stepped up huge. He's going to earn a payday. He's a free agent, and it's a huge thing that the Knicks need to re-sign Isaiah Hartenstein in this offseason. But then you're also getting guys back like Mitchell Robinson, who might not be your starting center, but is a great size piece and is a great rim protector down low, and Julius Randle. Julius Randle, who is a great post scorer and can take your guy outside. He's very physical down low, and I mean this roster has five, six, seven starters on it, right? It when fully healthy. This is a championship level roster. Not even to mention McBride, who has his moments. Now he wasn't particularly efficient in Game 7, 0 for 6 from 3 in 40 minutes of play, but he's a rookie. He's a young guy. He's starting to make that impact, and it's nice to see. But this Knicks team is very good, and they have some holes they need to fix in the roster. But it's harder to see their holes because of how injured they were. And they're a really good team when they're not hurt. I really think that they're a team that could take the Celtics if they were fully healthy. Now, in shambles like they are right now, in multiple pieces, dealing with the injury bug, they wouldn't have given the Celtics a series, I don't think. Even with Jalen Brunson, if he continued his magical run, that kind of cooled off there in the last couple games, but it's not really a run that you can expect Jalen Brunson night in and night out to keep up his 40-point performances. But this Knicks team is good. Don't be discouraged if you're a Knicks fan. I know this loss stings because you're definitely a better team than the Pacers, but the Pacers got lucky, and that's just a part of sports sometimes. You know, some of the greatest athletes, some of the greatest teams never won because luck is a part of it. And unfortunately, the Knicks drew the short straw on this one. We'll see if the Pacers' luck can continue. We're actually going to break that down coming up next in segment number 2. We're going to do an Eastern Conference Finals breakdown between the Pacers and the Celtics. So stick around for that. We'll be right back on Sports by GSMC Podcast Network.